In fact, it is my view that Muslims will not succeed in North America or UK or any place in the West or in non-Muslim lands. They will not succeed in establishing themselves until they establish the principle of hijrah. This principle of hijrah, which can be, as I said, an internal hijrah, meaning, for example, Muslims in Toronto could choose a particular area of the city in which they would move to and establish a fully functional community. As we have Chinatown downtown, which is a fully functioning community with all the necessary bits and pieces that are needed by the average community. It is there in Chinese, and it is so well established that even the street signs, will have Chinese lettering on it. Why don't we have an area? Our numbers far exceed the Chinese. Why don't we have an area where the street signs are written in Arabic, English and Arabic? Why not? That is establishment of one's presence. By the city allowing you to do that, that is acknowledging your reality. Muslims should have that. Of course, a Muslim town or Iman town, right, would not have the negative aspects of you could call ghettoization of community, where people close in on themselves, they don't allow others to come in, it's just a closed community, like the Jewish areas. You have Jewish enclaves in different parts of the city where it's just only Jews live there. And so if you walk into that area, you will feel, like you don't belong here, right? So we wouldn't want that kind of community, because our dawah is open. There's nobody out there making dawah to become a Jew. There's no dawah. It's closed. It's like a closed club. Nobody can make dawah to become Chinese, because if you're not born Chinese, then forget it, right? There's no chance. So for us, similarly, Islam is open, and our doors are open. We welcome people into Muslim town. And Islam that we see distorted in the media, distorted all around us in the media. Anytime you open the newspaper, anytime you open the television, you turn on the television, all you see are distorted images of Islam. And though we might try to say to our non-Muslim friends, well, no, Islam is not really like that, they hear us and they say, yeah, but, what is this we're seeing? So, the greatest means of showing people what Islam has to offer is by establishing Muslim town. If we establish Muslim town here in Toronto, you would see Islam happening, people accepting Islam in waves. إِذَا جَاءَ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ وَالْفَتْحِ, as Allah said. Because this would be the Fath. This would be, Nasrullah would be here. In Tansurullah yansurkum. If we aid the religion of Allah, He will help us. And if Allah's help comes, إِذَا جَاءَ نَصْرُ اللَّهِ وَالْفَتْحِ, and the success of being able to establish such a community, what's going to happen next? وَرَأَيْتَ النَّاسَ يَدْخُلُونَ فِي دِينِ اللَّهِ أَفْوَاجًا. You will see the people coming into Islam in waves. This is after the establishment. In Mecca, people weren't coming into Islam in waves. Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, Prophet of Allah, calling people to Islam, 13 years in Mecca. Where were the waves? No waves. People were just trickling in here and there, tortured, under trial, tribulations. Once the hijrah was done, the whole situation changed. This is the blueprint. This is the blueprint which has been left behind. There is no way forward. Muslims will not succeed until they establish that. See, because when you establish that, then you have now a safety net for the weaker elements of the community. Back home, in most of our communities, if a child was misbehaving and a neighbor saw them and said, don't do that, they're going to listen. They respect the neighbor. They've been raised to respect their elders. So the whole community participates in the upbringing of the children. You can't do it now. You're living by yourself in your own little house. The neighbors don't care. The neighbors' kids are worse than yours. And they're just going to make your kids worse. You got nobody to guide, point out, and you can't be there all the time. So it's a losing battle. So the presence, that community, what it does for the children. Also what it does for the women. You know, right now, a husband, for example, may maltreat his wife, may beat her. She screams or whatever. The neighbors don't care. You know, they don't care. They're not bothered. It's, you know, not my business. That's them. Yeah. So, in the Muslim town, if you hear noise going on, you're going to go knock on the door. What's going on there? That husband will feel shy to beat his wife. She screams and the neighbors hear. Astaghfirullah. Everybody's going to look at him at Fajr. Right? He's going to feel shy. So even if he thought to do it, it just the pressure of the community around him would control his behavior. Help him to control his behavior. Some people need that help. You know, people say, well, no, he should know. Well, yeah, he should know. But human beings are weak. Human beings are weak. So that's why they need community to help support them to practice the deen properly. This is why a lot of times non-Muslims say, you know, well, hey, in Saudi Arabia, when the time for prayer comes, there's this mutawwa. He goes around with a stick and he's chasing people into the masjid, right? Maybe he goes to extremes, so even some non-Muslims end up going in the masjid, you know, praying along with Muslims. You know, they go to extremes on it, right? You know. But the point is that, you know, some people say, oh, no, if I had, Islam is not asking for this. Yes, Islam does. Islam does encourage that people know that there are authorities. They cannot just hang out. As Muslims, you should be in the masjid. So, but this is like forcing religion on people. You know what happens? If you allow people who are Muslims to not practice Islam openly in the society, what that does, it weakens the weaker members. For the strong people who are going to pray anyway, it doesn't matter. What they do, they don't do, they're going to pray. They're going to establish their deen and carry on. But you have other people who are weaker. When they see these people not doing, they become tempted to do as they do. So you have that element there. It's not forcing religion, but it's an element there which ensures that the religion is implemented. Yes, In the Muslim state, because some people try to say, no, no, for example, hijab of the woman is a choice, she can choose. Yeah, in your non-Muslim country. But in the Muslim country, that's the law. You're a Muslim woman, you wear hijab. It's not a choice. It's a choice to do it for the sake of Allah. Here's your choice. Right? Or you do it because of the authority. Either way. Relative to the state, it doesn't matter. Relative to Allah, it does matter. But relative to the state, in order to protect the other members of the society, the weaker girls that are coming up, young women, whatever, who would see people with their hair out and everything else, and of course, they're going to be tempted. So, to remove that temptation, the law, external aspects of Islam are enforced. They're enforced. If you don't want to wear a hijab in your home, fine. What you do in your home, your privacy is ensured. But externally, in order to protect the society, then the external aspects of Islam are enforced. So, in Islam town, obviously you're not going to be enforcing it with mutawas coming and chasing people, because this is Canada, for example. But the pressure of community also has its own weight. It's not a stick, but people out of shame. It's a shame to be missing Fajr all the time. People come knock on your door. Brother, you having a problem? Can we help you? Other Muslim brothers will call you up, when they don't see you in Fajr a few times. So, the concern. What happened? Because we're praying together. 3-4 days we don't see our brother. We're going to go to his home, check him out. What's happening? Are you okay? Is everything okay? No. Oh, we didn't see you in Fajr. Inshallah, I'm coming tomorrow. Okay. Sometimes we need that reminder, encouragement. So these are among the benefits of the community which help the practice of Islam for its members. So that's why, of course, the community, as we said before, it has to be Iman town. It can't be, little Karachi or little Mogadishu. It has to be Iman town. Can't be on the basis of ethnicity. It must be on the basis of deen. That's what Medina was. Medina to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It was a city set up on the basis of faith. So this would be the example for those people who are trying to give da'wah to, trying to explain to people. You don't think that the word would spread like wildfire. There is a part of Toronto where there are no drugs, no alcohol, no pornography, no homosexuality openly. You don't think that the word would spread? Of course. And the people, when they want to come and they see this place is such clean, the children are respectful, the area is a clean area, There are a lot of the people of the society, they're not happy, They're not happy with the state of affairs, but there's no control. There's nothing they can do. The society is moving along, it's evolving into, more and more corruption. What can they do? That's how they see it. What can we do? So if they saw something like that, of course they're going to want to know why. What makes you all do this? You see, and we're not caught up like you have some groups that you can find among the Amish and others, who do similar things. But again, it's sort of cultish. They wear special clothing, which is from the 15th century. Some of these communities, they don't even drive cars, right? They drive around in buggy and cart. They don't use electricity. They're still using oil lamps and, you have like this, right? And they're covered up. Women are all covered up, very much close to Islam in that regard. But, technology for them is an issue. We don't have that problem. We can live with all the modern conveniences. This is not a threat to our deen. We don't have to live in terms of technology the way Muslims lived 1,400 years ago. That's not our deen. That's just technology. We have no problem in improving technology. So we would be an example like which there is no other. No other community like that. We are the only one who could come together and show that clean area, at the same time have no problem with modern developments in science and all these other areas. We don't have backward kind of ideas. Like the Christian fundamentalists, they have this idea that they counted from Adam, right? Generations is mentioned in the Bible. So they counted out the generations and they calculated the age of the earth. So they came up with this calculation: the earth is only 4,500 years old. Of course, scientists say it's bunk. It's clear evidence the earth is millions of years old. Clear evidence. But they're stuck in that because they're believing the Bible is the word of God, right? And it's been changed. For us, we don't have those kind of problems. Of course, we don't believe in evolution. Not the way they teach it anyway. We do believe there's some evolving that has taken place among certain plants and animals and things like this. A certain amount has taken place. But not that man was ever not a man. Man was always man. That is, when Allah created man, he was man. He may have gone through certain changes, because the way Adam was described, huge. And I saw this website where they're trying to ridicule Islam. Say, look what is this? People saying that hadith that Adam was like 90 feet tall. For most people, it's kind of tough to swallow. Adam was 90 feet tall. It's not maybe the exact measurement, but it's close to that. But if you just stop and think for a minute, the lizard, most countries, third world, you got lizards, right? That lizard, the ancestor of the lizard was who? The big dinosaurs. 50 feet, 100 feet, tall, long, huge. Now they're only 1 foot. So hey, if we can accept that, we don't have any problem with it. Why? Because we found bones. So simply because we didn't find the bones of Adam, we'll say, no way. Why? It's not illogical. It's quite reasonable. In fact, it fits into the picture that they present of life. Earlier animals, their present day versions are smaller than all of the earlier ones. You go look at them. The spiders, all the earlier, versions of our current animals were huge. Huge. Did Prophet Muhammad ﷺ know that? Did he know that? So he's made a kind of, approximation. Since all the earlier animals were big, we're small now. Adam probably was big and we became small. He didn't have that knowledge. He didn't have the knowledge of dinosaurs and these kinds of things. This was not necessary. He didn't need that knowledge. It wasn't necessary. He just related what Allah informed him. So the point is that for us, when we teach, we have that openness. We can teach the evolutionary theory and show its weaknesses so the students understand why it is we don't believe this story. Then we give them what information we have, based on Quran, Sunnah, etc. This is the alternative. We have impeccable sources. So, for sure, this would be one of the most powerful tools of da'wah that we could develop. And that's why, with the establishment of Medina, Islam spread at a rate unseen before. In 13 years in Mecca, it is estimated that approximately 300 plus people converted to Islam. Imagine that. 13 years, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam invited people and only 300 plus people accepted Islam. After the Hijrah, people accepted Islam in one day, 300 plus. Whole tribes came, gave bay'ah to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. One day that many people accepted Islam. That's the difference. That is the power of the Hijrah. So, as the Prophet ﷺ had said, Hijrah will not end until the acceptance of repentance ends. Hijrah remains until the last day. But in the hadith of the session, hadith 67, Prophet Muhammad ﷺ says there in this narration, أفضل المهاجرين من هجر ما نهى الله تعالى عنه. The best of immigrants is the one who emigrates from what Allah Most High has prohibited. In another narration, well-known hadith, Al-Muslim man salim al-Muslimuna min lisanihi wa yadi. The Muslim is one from whose tongue and hands Muslims are safe. Wal-Muhajir man hajara ma naha Allahu anhu. And the true immigrant is one who abandons what Allah has forbidden. So this is really the essence. This is the metaphorical use of the term hijrah, emigration. That the internal emigration, that is something required of the believers anywhere and everywhere, anytime. It is a requirement for us to abandon whatever Allah has forbidden. And that act of abandonment is called hijrah also, or hajar. So that should be something in our minds when we think about the hijrah calendar. We think, okay, you see Umar ibn al-Khattab, who fixed the date for the beginning of the Muslim year. It became necessary in his time because the state had grown and the organization of an Islamic state now required codifying, dating, records, all these kinds of things. So they decided at that point to count the year from the time of the Hijrah, because that was the turning point. Not from the birth of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, right? Like Christian system, AD, BC, but from the point of the Hijrah. That was the turning point in history. Right? And similarly, in our lives, the Hijrah for us as individuals should be our own individual turning points. When we decide to make that internal Hijrah, then change will take place in our lives as we have never or could never imagine. There's so many things we want to do, so many things we know we shouldn't be doing, But when we make that decision to make hijrah from what Allah has prohibited, then our lives will change in such a way we could never really imagine it. Most of us, we feel so much time has gone or time is going, we can't seem to get a handle on things. The salah is not really improving, fasting every year is the same. We're not really growing spiritually. It goes back to this. This is the core. When we make that individual decision to abandon what Allah has prohibited, then our lives will change. And until we make that decision, and that's a real commitment, not just a word, statement, but a real spiritual decision, when we make that decision, then our lives will change from that point onward. And that's the guidance that the Prophet ﷺ was giving us in this hadith, the hadith 67 of the collection, The Best of Islam. The best immigrant, the best muhajir, is the one who emigrates from what Allah has prohibited. With that, we close the session. Subhanaka Allahumma bihamdika, nashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Okay, we can take a few questions. Adhan is going to come up now. Huh? It's time for the adhan. Huh? Yeah, okay. We'll take a few minutes. And are there any questions? By the way, this is the book, The Best of Islam, or it's called The Best in Islam. This is the actual text, which the Hadith series is based on. This copy is a pirated copy from India. It says printed in India without my permission. But no matter, wherever you can get it, it's worth getting and reading, inshallah. Yeah, it's exactly. They haven't changed anything. They've done it exactly as it was, even printed in Sharjah. They've used everything here, right? But they just put this thing in the back here, printed in India, for which permission was not given. Can we recite Quranic verses for worldly problems? For example, I recite Surah Ali Imran, verse 84, to pay off my loan. Is it permissible? Well, who says that verse 84 will help you to pay off your loan? Yeah, maybe somebody did. Some book you might find somewhere. It says if you read verse 84 1,000 times in the morning and 1,000 times in the evening, your loans will be paid off. You have books like that, right? But know that such books are nonsense, made up. Nobody has the authority to say that but Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He's the only one, and he didn't say those things. He gave du'as, seeking protection from indebtedness and things like this. There are du'as like that. You take those du'as, you make the du'a. That's what we do. In pregnancy, I don't fast, but have the intention of doing fast after delivery. Do I have to feed the needy in Ramadan because I can't fast? Or I just don't need to and just have the intention and finish my fast later? It will be sufficient for you to fast later. It's possible if you're going to feed somebody, feed the poor for not fasting, then that's in the place of fasting. So you feed the poor, you don't need to fast. Right? And this should be when a woman feels some fear, some danger. Not just automatically, I'm pregnant, fast. No. But if you feel some physical threat, you're feeling weak, doctors advise you, Muslim doctors, because of course non-Muslim doctors don't fast. Why are you fasting? Anyway, right? So anytime you're seeking medical advice, always seek it from Muslim doctors, right? Do we have to pay a portion of zakah in the city we are living? It's better to pay zakah in the city we live rather than sending zakah overseas. Because you have to consider, first and foremost, that you earn the money here. If you have businesses overseas that are earning, money there, and you have zakat to pay from there, okay, pay there, fine. Because your wealth is taken from that community. So the zakah should go back into that community. That's priority. Again, it's not haram if you send the zakah overseas. It's not haram. But we talk about priority. What's better? Who has the most right? It is the people of that community from which you have gained that wealth. Because the principle of zakah is to help to keep the wealth circulating in the society. Is it allowed for a husband to leave the wife with small kids alone and go visit the family back home? No. It's not allowed. It's not allowed. It's not permissible. If the wife agrees, gives the okay, yes. But for him just to pack his bags and say, I'll see you after a month or two, is not permissible. It is her right that he be there to look after her. That's what the husband is for. For husband is to take care of the needs of the family. Right? So it is not permissible for him to just pack up and leave.
If in the case of the husband is visiting his sick mom or dad back home,
in the case where the husband is going to visit his sick mom or dad, we still have to say, without the permission of his wife, he cannot go.
She has to accept.
Yes. Why? Because, what is his sick mom? Well, why aren't you back there? Why aren't you living there? If you're worried about your mom, then you should be back there with your mom, your wife, and your kids. So you can see her without any problem. But you have chosen to leave your mom back there and gone halfway around the world, and then you say, okay, now to your wife, I'm going to leave you. I'm going back halfway around the world. No, this is not fair. This is not right. This is a decision that you made. So unless you're prepared to pay for the ticket for your wife and kids, take them all with you when you go to visit your mom, then you can't go without getting her okay. Yeah, there's a similar hadith. A question concerning whether there are similar hadiths to the hadith concerning hijrah continuing until the last days of this world. Is there one also referring to jihad in that way? Yes, that there is no end to jihad. And we know, what was Prophet Isa doing? Fighting Dajjal. This is jihad. When the Gog and the Magog, this is jihad. It's right up until the last days. Till the end, the world is coming to an end. So jihad remains, it's not suspended. It doesn't, Muslims may not engage in it in different periods of time where there is no threat, there's no obstacle for the spread of Islam, etc. So there may be periods of time in which they're not fighting jihad. But it doesn't mean, simply because it remains until the last day, that Muslims have to be out fighting somebody somewhere, right? That's not our mentality. But it means that whenever Muslims come under attack, Muslims need to be helped. The doors for da'wah need to be open. Then we are prepared to fight to establish the rule of Allah, to promote the deen of Allah in the earth without forcing anybody to accepting Islam. Okay, I think we'll go to the adhan now, inshallah. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك اشهد ان لا اله الا انت نستغفرك ونتوب اليك